We will start in a few minutes' time. Okay, hello once again. In the meantime, if you have any question, whatever, you can write it in the chat box. Yeah, Prof. Okay, once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your location. By God's grace, we are here again. This is a continuity from our last session. For those who are not new, Prof is known to you. However, for the benefit of our new participants, we would like to read Prof's profile for you, so at least you will know him, and then we can start thereafter, inshallah. And then we are sorry for the technical problems that we encountered earlier. And also I'm sorry again, as promised, could not start at 6:15 as promised. Sorry for that. We are still welcoming quite a number. So hopefully by the time Prof starts, the house will be full. Okay, so now to Prof's profile. To see, just a moment. Yeah, so I hope we can see the screen. Okay. May I read?
In that case, I have to unshare, Dr. Mutaka.
Can I hear a voice say yes? May I read? You can type in the chat box yes or no. Are we there? Just a moment. Admitting others online. Okay, thank you for saying yes. Okay, I begin. Prof. Osumanu lectures at UPM. He was the former head of Science and Technology Research Unit, Institute of Ecosystem Science, Borneo, UPM. He is the current head of Biodiversity Laboratory in Borneo, Institute of Ecosystem Borneo, that's UPM. He's also affiliated to a number of research institutes as a research associate. Prof. Osumanu serves as an expert reference for many national and international institutions, including NIFA of United States Department of Agriculture, University of Cape Coast, and many more. Prof. Osumanu is involved in 53 research grant projects, and he is leading a number of research projects at UPM. He had published approximately 355 scholarly work. He had written 18 books, 18 chapters in books, 221 referee journal papers, 100 papers in conference proceedings, and other publications. Prof. Osumanu has filed 13 patents and 5 trademarks in Malaysia, United States of America, Europe, Indonesia, and Thailand. Prof. Osumanu had graduated 14 postdoctoral research fellows and postgraduate students. He is currently supervising 13 postgraduate students. He has licensed some of his innovations to some companies in addition to technology knowledge transfer to several communities. At the international level, national and university levels, his research innovations had won approximately 55 awards. At the international level, Prof. Osumanu had been awarded special award entitled Most Promising Innovation. In February 2020, he received International Award of Merit from Republic of Croatia. In 2019, he was awarded the Most Productive Book Writer at UPM. And since 2017, since 2007 to date, Prof. Osumanu is on UPM's Excellence Service Award. In recognition of his contribution to UPM, he had been awarded UPM's Vice Chancellor Award as Best Young Lecturer in Teaching and Gold Medal for being Best Lecturer in Teaching. He has also been invited as a prominent speaker in many national and international scholarly or intellectual forum and meetings. Currently, Prof. Osumanu is on several advisory boards. He continues to render public services and consultancies to many organizations. So here are just a few words about Prof. Osumanu. To say more, we will not finish the session. So with this, I would like to invite Prof to start to lead us into the session today. Welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much, and good day,
Before
everyone.
that, there's some housekeeping rules. Please mute your microphones. And please do, for those who need certificate, certificate will be provided. Please allow at least about 1 week interval. Within 1 week, we try to give the certificate. And if you need a certificate, please, you must stay at least 80% of the session. Certificate will be awarded to only those who stayed and then confirm their names at the end of the session. So that was what we did last, but many could not stay. Later, they wrote an email and we had to accommodate. Please do ensure that today you stay and provide your names at the end of the session. Thank you. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mutaka, and then good day to everyone. Again, I would like to thank Dr. Mutaka and the Ghanaian Students Association, and also the president for... Hello? Can you hear me, please? Hello? Hello?
Prof is there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sorry, Prof. Prof, I can't hear you. Can I? Shana. Shana asked to. Okay.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Can I change?
Hello.
Prof, proceed.
Can you hear me, everyone? Hello. 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 I think I tried to respond for me to hear whether you can hear me or not. I can hear you, but I cannot hear you. So may I proceed? All right. I'm very sorry for the technical hiccup. Anyway, thank you very much. The subject is more to what we are going to do to make our papers or documents quite, from good to acceptable. So let me start right away. Now, when we talk about scientific writing or technical writing, what we do follow is that the write-up should follow a logical structure. And this logical structure is very important because that should enable readers to really follow and understand what we are trying to communicate. Because at the end of the day, communication is what is important. Now, it is a scientific document because as you could recall, we have scientific norms that we follow, right from general observation until you communicate your data. Therefore, it must follow certain chronological order with certain basic facts. And because of this, if we are talking about scientific writing, then we must have some clear expressions. Our expressions must be very, very clear, not only clear, but must be very simple, and at the same time must be formal in a way that when we communicate our information, the key concepts of our work, the thrust of our work should be able to get across for the readers to understand what we are trying to say. Definitely, this will help a great deal when especially you are communicating to non-native speakers, those who are not native speakers of the particular language, especially if you are writing in English. Because of this, we will have to have a scientific document that is very comprehensive. It must be legible, and at the same time, the readability must be there. We shouldn't be scratching our heads and then before we understand. Now, if we are talking about comprehensiveness of our work, then if you could recall, I have gone through all these scientific norms. I'm not going to repeat them, but at least the foundation or the norms of the scientific research must be there. And all of these things at least must be covered. Now, when we talk about legibility, of course, when we are going to publish our work, definitely the layouters and then the typesetters, they are solely responsible for those kind of basic typesetting and whatever. However, it is our responsibility to make sure that whatever we are communicating, they are factual, they've been cross-checked, and they are properly typed and presented. Because at the end of the day, we are going to have our names and affiliations there. We are responsible for the content. Therefore, we must take care of that. Now, readability, when we talk about readability, we are talking about well-constructed sentences, not just conforming to example, the English language or grammar or whatever. The grammar must be there, it must be correct, but we want well-constructed sentences because sometimes a grammar is correct does not mean you have constructed good sentences. Now here, what we mean in scientific writing can be example could be like this. You see, if you write a sentence like this, the study concluded that the product is good. Here, grammatically, it is correct, but scientifically, to make it more formal, perhaps we can say that the author concluded that the product is good, because the paper or the document that you are writing cannot conclude for itself. I'm not saying this is wrong, but actually, technically, it doesn't sound right. Now, there's nothing wrong to say that this shows that, but if we want to put it in a very technical or scientific way, then we can say the text or whatever you are talking about suggests that there must be something that is to give us some information. Now, for instance, if we also say that it is suggested that a relationship may exist, this, you have too many words. If it's a well-constructed sentence, all that you want to tell us is that a relationship may exist. So here, if you go through, it's very irritating. I'm just giving the foundation, the basics, just to remind ourselves. If you have been part of the editorial board and you do some review, it is not our role to help you with this kind of basic kind of structure or whatever. It can be very irritating, and I think we need to avoid this. And it also adds a little bit negative on your, what we call it, on your credibility. So here, look at this. If we say there were several subjects who completed, again, we can just write it in a simple and well-constructed, clause or sentence like several subjects completed. Remember, we are talking about space and time. Can you imagine you are required to write 120 or 150 words for an abstract? Definitely, you might have well-constructed sentences and avoid excessive words. Right. And then we also look at this, a total number of students. Why don't you just say number of students? As simple as that. Now, if we say 5 different groups, 5 different groups are almost the same. So professionally, we can say we have 5 groups. Now, we also, much as we write a technical, document or scientific work, we need to avoid oddity. Oddity example is like this. If we look at the first sentence, you are saying that this sentence does a verb have. What kind of statement is this? This happens when you are doing transliteration. Perhaps all that we are trying to say is the sentence has a verb. Make it as simple as that. This is another oddity. This sentence, no verb. The sentence has a verb. Now, this is very, very common in our setup, being it in Nigeria, Ghana, or whatever. You hear somebody saying, I'm coming, but the person is actually going. So I'm coming here. Are you trying to say that I will be with you shortly? Or a moment, please. So what I'm trying to say here is we need to be very, very careful with the basic things that will really, really negate our work. Now, because of this, we have to avoid what we call colloquialism or transliteration from your mother tongue into the language that you are writing, example, the English language. Now, we also will have to be very careful with our punctuation marks. I wouldn't have time. There are about 14 types, and I'll only limit myself to only 3 of them, the commonly used ones. And one of them is what we call the comma. This is very, very basic that I think we shouldn't allow this to elude us. For instance, in this case, if you look at this kind of sentence, when we talk about comma, we don't want excessive comma within a simple sentence. This is just a simple sentence, and we can see that you have 3 commas, which is too much. That means that maybe placing of the comma is now a challenge to you, and that is not the duty of an editor or what we call a reviewer. So here, what we can say is, if you want to use a comma, we need to understand basic things like 1, you must understand that you can use a comma before a coordinating conjunction. What are these examples? We are talking about and, but, for, nor, so, yet. If you want to use that, you can see here, you have 2 sentences. The first one will be completed by the second part. These are clauses. So here you see, after the first clause, because you are bringing a conjunction, before the conjunction, there must be a comma. So that is how it is used when we say coordinating conjunction. Now we can also use a comma for a dependent clause. You can see here, the first clause depends on the last clause. We have two sections. So before this, if you don't have and, then you have to bring a comma so that you will be able to complete the sentence. So these are very basic that we need to be very careful. We have something also called appositives. Appositives are generally, for example, in your sentence or your clause, you have a noun and you are renaming the noun to add on meaning to the sentence. In that case, we call that kind of renaming of the noun appositives. So here, if you look at here, you say the boy raised ahead the what? To finish the line. So here, the noun here is a boy, which is an improper noun. So when you add something like an avid sprinter, this avid sprinter is qualifying the boy, giving another noun. Therefore, there must be a comma after the boy, then you write an avid sprinter, comma, then you go on. So these are very, very basic that sometimes when you are giving a review, they tell you that you have very poor grammatical expression or poor style of writing. These are some of the basic things. So if you don't have the grasp of these simple things, you can spot out what is being communicated to you. And you may be tempted to give it for other review, and then that will cost you a lot. Another example is like this. If you look at here, the same example, we have something called mallet. Now, the next, what we call a positive is what? A kind of duck. So you are trying to say the mallet is a duck. So I saw, whilst running, I saw a mallet. So comma, to explain, now the duck is giving a noun to what we call the mallet. So this is very important. Now we can also use what we call commas to separate the what? Items in series. When we talk about item in series, you can see clearly, I saw a library, a school, and a university when I was driving, when I went driving. So here in series,